Hello all, welcome to Developing Success. So today we are doing a new topic from international organization and the topic is G8. I have seen many students are in a confusion that what is G7, what is G8, क्या G7 ही G8 है, क्या G7 का part है G8. All that confusion will be solved in this video, so stay tuned. So if we start from the G8, it is actually the advanced countries group, which is both advanced and industrialized. So let me tell you, in 1975 actually this group was first talked of and it started to begin, and in 1975 it was a group of G7 only. So slowly and gradually, like in 1978, 80 till 88, all the seven members joined. So you can say that till 1990 we had these seven members G7. After this 1990, in the year 1997, Russia also joined this group. So at that point of time in 1997, when Russia joined this group was called G8. So previously when it started as a group, it was known as G7. When Russia joined, it was known as G8. Okay, so till here I think you have understood. So let's begin, and there are many things to be told in this lecture. So the origin is actually in the 1970s, and in the 1970s the leaders of US, UK, France, West Germany, Italy, Japan met informally, remember this word, informally, in Paris to discuss the then recession and the oil crisis. So this oil crisis has always been a part of the world history, the global history, and to discuss this oil crisis and to fight with the recession which was going on in this 1970s, these industrialized advanced nations, they came in informally for the talks. So in their talks actually the Canada joined in 1976 and Russia was the last to join in 1997. So in 1976 the whole group was made as G7, and when Russia joined it in 1997 it became the G8. So the starting of this group was G7. After that, when Russia joined it in 1997, it became the G8. Now since 1997 till 2014 actually this remained as G8. After 2014, Russia was again kicked out of this group. Actually, why was it kicked out of this group? Because Russia occupied the Crimea portion which belongs to Ukraine. I will discuss the Crimea Ukraine Russia relation in another lecture which I will upload very soon. So because Russia actually occupied forcefully this Crimea region which actually belonged to Ukraine, the international community had kicked off Russia from this group in G8, and the G7 again become the G8 again become the G7. Okay, so from 1997 till 2004 this group was known as G8, and now it is known as G7, and before 1997 also it was G7. So I will tell you this once again so that there is no confusion left. See, from 1975 till 1996 this group was known as G7, and from 1997 till 2014 this group was known as G8, and from 2014 till present day this group is again known as G7. So this is the history of this G7 and G8 to be called as by the separate names of G7 and G8. So who are the 8 members? You can see USA, this is USA in the map, and then we have Canada, this green color is the portion of Canada in North America. Then you have UK, this is UK, then you have France, then Germany, then we have Italy, and then we have Russia, we have Japan. So these are the 8 members. So Russia is now not the member, so we are left with 7. Okay, so Russia was suspended from the group after other members disagreed with its annexation of Crimea, which is an autonomous republic of Ukraine. So in 2014 Russia was removed for an indefinite period, and so G8 became G7 since then. Now to to make Russia enter into this group again. Donald Trump and Emmanuel Macron, they are working hard and they are pleading to the international community to take Russia back into this group. But in 2017, Russia formally announced that it is not a part of G8 anymore, and that is why the G8 is now known as the G7. So the basic fact about this G7 and G8 international group is this is an intergovernmental organization that meets periodically to address international economic and monetary issues. So international economic and both monetary issues, they have also discussed terrorism, they have also discussed about climate change, they have also formed the action plan of the G7 according to the UNFCCC. So they are working in these things. So G8 is G7 now, we know that. It is not an official formal entity. Remember, this is an informal talk, this is an informal organization, and it does not have any legislative or authoritative power. So they do not have any power to make a rule binding, so they are actually not legally binding. Okay, none of the agreements are legally binding, so not legally binding. Okay, this group members occasionally work together to help resolve the global problems. Obviously they have come up together as a group, and so they have to work together for some of the global issues. Now, what is the criticism of G8 in the international community is that many economists and many thinkers, they recognize the G8 as a group of West, as a group of rich, as a group of privileged, because many they disregard actually the poor nations in favor of pursuing their own interest. So they don't consider much about the policies and about the say, about the discussion of the emerging economies and also the poor countries. So the in past many complaints have been made and many protests have been also done for not involving the big emerging economies in the group. And these big emerging economies are mainly the five countries: Brazil, China, India, Mexico, and South Africa. They are very big economies with very much population. That is why they have a whole lot of market potential because of too much of population. So the trade and the monetary aspect actually depend on these countries. So before launching any new policy and before launching any new talk, the international community thinks that these five emerging countries should be taken into consideration when they are making some big global policy. So to counter the criticism, the UK and France pushed to include five emerging economies into the group. They were actually not included in the group, but they are sometimes called for the meeting because there are many big issues which cannot be talked about without these countries. As I told you, these countries have a large population with a large GDP factor of the world. So now they have started calling Brazil, China, India, Mexico, and South Africa into their meeting. And this meeting is now known as G8 plus 5. So the year in which these are called, this meeting is known as G8 plus 5. And this G8 plus 5 was formalized in 2005 at the Scotland meeting. Okay, and this was majorly the initiative of the UK Prime Minister. And because India had very good relations with UK and USA and Canada all the time, so this was possible, and this talk will be known as G8 plus 5. And we know that the Russia already announced not to be part of G8 in 2017, but it was removed by the group itself in 2014. The last 2019 meeting was held in France, and the 2020 meeting has been scheduled in June at USA. But as we are talking about this lecture in April 2020, we are not sure that this meeting will be happening or not because of this coronavirus crisis around the world. So let's hope for good. And one more information I want to give you is these G7 countries actually have 62% of the global net worth. Okay, so they are actually richer and advanced countries, but without population they cannot work, and the population belongs to India and Brazil and Mexico. Actually, if I tell you, this G7 was the initiative mainly of IMF, and the IMF thinks that China is not fit for to be called as advanced economy or developed economy. So IMF, that is why, does not consider China. But China in its own place considers itself as a advanced and a major power in the economic sector into the world, and that is why it does not claim itself as an emerging economy. So in the G7, or we can call it G8, anything, China is not the part in the talks anywhere. So whether it be G7 meeting, whether it be G7 plus 5 meeting, China is not the part, because the International Monetary Fund actually don't think is as. And one more information I want to give you is that after the World War II, there were many initiatives taken in the world to stabilize the global economy, to stabilize the financial stability of the global arena. So in that part, in that initiative, the World Bank and the IMF, the United Nations, and then we have the World Trade Organization, these were all initiatives taken by the international platform, and G7 is one of them, because WTO is very recent in 90s, but G7 was started in 1995 to actually solve the oil crisis and the recession all over the world. So it is one of the important organization. But let me tell you that this organization now is becoming too much in the criticism area. Why? Because it is just considering the emerging economies and also considering the advanced economies. So it mainly disregards the opinions and suggestions from the poor and the third world countries, which is actually not inevitable in this age. So we end the lecture with this thought that the G7 will think about the poor nations also, and it will come up with many new initiatives. Rather it has given too much of money to the African countries for the development. But giving money is not enough, because the suggestions and their problems should be discussed over this platform, which is not taking place these days. So I end the lecture here. Thank you.